It was a lightning bolt moment. One of those nights I was just playing with filters and raw code, and the whole aesthetic just emerged. Liam was a great assistant, of course, helping with the legwork. The words hung in the sterile white air of the gallery, amplified by the hushed reverence of the art crowd. A journalist's flashbulb popped, freezing the smug, beatific smile on Marcus's face. All around us, on pristine walls, hung our work. My work. A woman from a popular arts blog turned her microphone toward me, her expression expectant. "He tells the story so well," I said, my voice perfectly even. "Marcus and I met 3 years ago at a digital arts meetup in a glass-walled WeWork in Soho. He had the kind of infectious energy that made you want to believe in things. Talked in broad, beautiful strokes about art and influence in changing the world, while I was the guy who knew the precise f-stop to capture the rain-slicked neon of a late-night street corner. He was the thunder, I was the lightning. Our first collaboration was born on a pile of greasy ramen napkins. I remember the sheer joy of it, the way his abstract ideas would spark a concrete visual in my mind. We felt unstoppable, but the first red flag was there, so small I painted right over it. He presented a small test piece at a student showcase, and when the professor praised the complex layering technique I'd spent a week perfecting, Marcus jumped in with thanks. We worked really hard to get that effect right. As if he'd been there for the 26 sleepless hours I spent wrestling with Python scripts. I let it go. He was the front man, I told myself. That was his job. The golden period lasted a solid year. We called the series Urban Echoes. I'd spend my days shooting, capturing the city's forgotten textures on my Sony A7 IV. Then, late into the night in our shared studio space, surrounded by the smell of stale coffee and humming hard drives, I would meticulously manipulate them. I'd spend 50 hours on a single piece, embedding fragmented code into the pixels, layering ghostly images from my archives, making the concrete architecture of New York City feel like a fading memory. Marcus would drop by, clap me on the shoulder, say, "Brilliant man, absolutely brilliant," and then spend his evenings networking using my latest proofs to build our brand. My brand. The imbalance grew slowly. He'd forget his half of the studio rent. He'd use the project credit card for expensive dinners with gallery owners I was never invited to. I rationalized it all. He was building the business. I was the artist. I needed to focus on the art. But then came the email. I was searching our shared Google Drive for an old invoice when I found a subfolder I'd never seen before, named Legal. Inside was a PDF. Copyright registration certificate for the entire Urban Echoes series, all 12 completed pieces, filed 3 months prior. The sole author and claimant listed was Marcus Vance. The air left my lungs. It wasn't an accident. This was a plan. For the next 6 weeks I lived a double life. To Marcus, I was the same quiet, focused collaborator, finishing the last 2 pieces of the collection. To myself, I was an archaeologist, digging through the digital ruins of our partnership. I compiled every original raw file from my camera, each one stamped with my name and a GPS coordinate. I took screen recordings of my editing process, my cursor a frantic mouse narrating hours of labor in Adobe Photoshop and After Effects. I pulled up 3 years of text messages. Him: "Your edits on the Tribeca shot are insane." Me: "Just finished the base layer for the grand central piece." It was all there, a mountain of quiet, irrefutable proof. The breaking point didn't come in a dramatic confrontation. It arrived in a FedEx envelope. Cease and desist letter from a law firm I'd never heard of, ordering me to stop all work related to Urban Echoes and to turn over any and all digital assets. It accused me of attempting to claim ownership of Marcus's proprietary artistic vision. I called him, my hand shaking so hard I could barely hold the phone. His voice was cold, rehearsed. "Look, Liam, you were a great technician, but the vision, the soul of this project, was always mine. You can't copyright pressing a button. This is just business, don't make it personal." The line went dead. I stared at the letter, at the cheap smudged ink of my own name. That's when the plan truly began. I noticed a tiny detail in his copyright filing. In his rush, he'd used the low-resolution JPEGs he'd downloaded from our drive. He didn't have the source files. He didn't have the lightning. My lawyer, Ms. Vera, was a sharp, impeccably dressed woman with a mind like a steel trap. A retainer was $7,500, nearly everything I had. For 2 months we worked. We built a case so airtight it was a work of art in itself. The cost was more than financial. It was nights of sleep, a constant knot of anxiety in my stomach. Once Marcus texted me out of the blue, "Hey man, let's get a coffee, clear the air." My thumb hovered over the reply button, the old instinct to smooth things over kicking in. Vera's advice echoed in my head: stay silent. Let him think you're scared. I deleted the message. Our evidence was a symphony of truth. There were the 14 terabytes of original raw files and their metadata. There were 72 timestamped screen recordings of my work. There were 214 text messages and emails where Marcus explicitly praised my specific edits and compositions. We had a sworn affidavit from Zara, another artist in our building, who testified to seeing me work alone late into the night, week after week. And the ironic masterstroke, a travel blogger's Instagram post, time-stamped and geotagged, showing Marcus at a pool party in Miami on the exact weekend. He claimed to have had the lightning bolt inspiration for the centerpiece of the collection, a piece for which I had the raw photo files, taken that same Saturday in a rainstorm in Dumbo. Vera's strategy was brilliant. We responded to his lawyer with a deliberately weak letter, hinting at my willingness to accept a small settlement. As predicted, Marcus's ego took the bait. He agreed to a formal mediation, eager to crush me once and for all. He walked right into the trap. The mediation room was aggressively neutral, beige walls, a polished mahogany table, stale air. Marcus and his lawyer sat opposite me and Ms. Vera. He leaned back in his chair, a picture of casual confidence. "We're here today to discuss the provenance of the Urban Echo series," Vera began, her voice calm as a frozen lake. Marcus launched into his now familiar speech about vision and soul, about me being a hired hand, a technician. He was expansive, charming, performing for the mediator. He was drowning in his own story. Vera let him finish. Then she began. She presented the text messages, the emails, Zara's affidavit. With each exhibit, the color drained slightly from Marcus's face. His bravado curdled into confusion, then a tight, controlled panic. The killer proof came last. Vera connected a laptop to the large monitor on the wall. First, the Instagram post from Miami. Then my photos metadata clear as day. Sony A7IV Liam Harris, Brooklyn, NY, timestamp to the minute. Finally, she opened one of the massive multi-layered Photoshop files. She toggled the layers on and off one by one, deconstructing my art, my hours, my work in front of everyone. The raw photo, the color grading, the texture overlays, the embedded code, the final polish. It was a silent, systematic execution. Marcus was speechless, his face pale and waxy under the fluorescent lights. His lawyer was staring at the table, refusing to look at him. "You can't copyright pressing a button, right?" I asked, my voice no louder than a whisper. The aftermath was a quiet explosion. The mediation ended with Marcus's lawyer advising him to accept a settlement immediately to avoid a public fraud lawsuit. The gallery canceled his show. The arts blog that had interviewed him posted a lengthy retraction. Within 24 hours, his world had been dismantled. I ignored 17 panicked calls from him. The final judgment was clean. He owed me $85,000 in damages and was legally required to transfer all copyright and commercial rights to me. He also had to cover my legal fees, another $22,000. I saw his LinkedIn profile a few months later. He was a brand strategist for a mid-level marketing firm. The vibrant, visionary artist was gone, replaced by a man in a gray suit smiling a hollow corporate smile. His art website now redirects to a 404 error. My life, meanwhile, expanded. The settlement gave me a year of pure creative freedom. I have my own studio now, a bright, airy space in Bushwick with none of his ghosts. My first solo show, titled Provenance, opens next month. Small circle of real friends, people like Zara who saw the work being done, are my new collaborators. There's a quietness to my days now, an earned calm. A journalist from a major publication came to interview me last week. She asked about my process, where the ideas come from. I smiled. "It's a lightning bolt moment," I told her. "But the lightning is in the details, the thousands of hours of work no one else sees. It was never about the revenge. It was about reclaiming my story."